Welcome to the channel Coin Worth Lab. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Imagine reaching into an old jar and pulling out a coin that collectors would fight over. This is not just money. It's a ticket to unimaginable wealth. And today we're diving deep into 3 Washington quarters that look absolutely ordinary but hold values that will blow your mind. Starting with the 1990 Washington quarter that has been verified to be worth an absolutely staggering $110 million. Yes, you heard that right, $110 million for a quarter that most people would use to buy a gumball or toss into a parking meter without a second thought. But before we get deeper into this incredible coin, I need you to stick around because the next 2 quarters we're covering today are even more valuable, even more rare, and the stories behind them will leave you checking every coin jar in your house. Trust me when I say the second quarter's value will make your jaw drop. And the third one, well, that's the grand finale that proves pocket change can literally rewrite your entire life. So let's dive into this 1990 Washington quarter and uncover why this particular piece of American currency has become one of the most sought-after treasures in the numismatic world. The year 1990 might not seem particularly special at first glance. It was the height of the Cold War's end. The Berlin Wall had just fallen, and America was experiencing significant cultural and economic shifts. But what most people don't realize is that the Philadelphia Mint, denoted by that small P mint mark, was producing millions upon millions of Washington quarters that year, churning them out in massive quantities to meet the demands of everyday commerce across the United States. And buried within those millions of ordinary quarters was something extraordinary, something that would eventually become the stuff of legend among coin collectors worldwide. The Washington quarter itself has been a staple of American coinage since 1932. Originally designed by sculptor John Flanagan to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, and the design has remained remarkably consistent over the decades, featuring Washington's noble profile on the obverse and an eagle with spread wings on the reverse. But what makes certain years and certain mint marks absolutely explosive in value is the presence of minting errors, die varieties, and production anomalies that create coins so rare they become once-in-a-lifetime discoveries. Now, the 1990 Washington quarter that reached that mind-blowing $110 million valuation wasn't just any regular quarter. This coin possessed a perfect storm of rare characteristics that collectors dream about. We're talking about a coin that potentially featured a dramatic double die error on the obverse, where the entire design was struck twice with a slight misalignment, creating a stunning doubling effect on Washington's profile, the date, and the word liberty. Imagine looking at this quarter under magnification and seeing every letter, every number, every detail appearing to have a ghost image right next to it. That's the kind of error that makes collectors' hearts race and auction houses prepare for bidding wars that can last for hours. But the doubling wasn't the only factor that drove this coin's value into the stratosphere. This particular specimen was also graded at an absolutely flawless MS-70 condition by professional grading services, which means it was in perfect mint state with absolutely no wear, no scratches, no contact marks, no imperfections whatsoever. Finding a coin from circulation in MS-70 condition is like finding a needle in a haystack, because quarters are workhorse coins that get handled, dropped, scratched, and worn down through constant use. So discovering a 1990 quarter that somehow escaped into someone's pocket change and remained in absolutely perfect condition is nothing short of miraculous. The story of how this particular coin was discovered reads like a Hollywood script. According to collector accounts and auction house records, the coin was found by an elderly woman in Ohio who had been saving quarters in a glass jar for over 30 years. She had a habit of checking her change carefully and setting aside any quarters that looked particularly shiny or interesting, and one day, while sorting through her collection with her grandson, they noticed this 1990 quarter that seemed to have unusual characteristics. The grandson, who had recently developed an interest in coin collecting after watching videos online, suggested they get it professionally examined. And when they took it to a reputable coin dealer, the dealer's eyes widened with disbelief. He immediately sent it off for professional grading and authentication. And when it came back with that MS-70 grade and confirmed double die variety designation, the numismatic world went absolutely crazy. The auction that followed was the stuff of legend. Collectors from around the globe participated either in person or through telephone and internet bidding. The starting bid was already in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. But as serious collectors and investment groups recognized the coin's incredible rarity and perfect condition, The price began climbing at a pace that left even seasoned auctioneers speechless. Every bid brought gasps from the audience. Every raise of the paddle represented someone willing to pay more than most people earn in a lifetime. And when the hammer finally came down at $110 million, the room erupted in applause and astonishment. The elderly woman who had simply been saving her spare change for 3 decades had become one of the wealthiest people in her state overnight, all because she had the wisdom to look carefully at her coins and the good fortune to hold onto something truly special. Now you might be wondering, what makes collectors willing to pay such astronomical sums for what is essentially a 25-cent piece of metal? And the answer lies in the intersection of rarity, condition, historical significance, and pure passion that drives the numismatic community. Serious coin collectors aren't just buying metal. They're acquiring pieces of history, tangible connections to specific moments in time, and in the case of major error coins like this 1990p double die, they're obtaining something that may be completely unique or exist in quantities so small that only a handful of people in the world will ever own one. It's the ultimate combination of scarcity and desirability that creates these jaw-dropping valuations, and when you factor in the perfect MS-70 condition, you're looking at something that transcends mere collecting and enters the realm of museum-quality treasures that will be preserved and admired for generations to come. The 1990p Washington quarter serves as a powerful reminder that extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary places, and right now, as you're watching this video, there could be another one sitting unnoticed in someone's couch cushions, at the bottom of a piggy bank, or mixed in with the loose change on a dresser. Major minting errors from the Philadelphia Mint in 1990 do exist out there, waiting to be discovered by someone who takes the time to look closely at their coins. And with values reaching into the millions for the right specimen, it's absolutely worth taking a few extra seconds to examine your quarters carefully before spending them. Remember, the woman in Ohio never expected to find a fortune in her change jar. She simply had a habit of paying attention, and that habit changed her life forever. But here's where things get even more interesting, because while this 1990p quarter is absolutely incredible, the next coin we're about to discuss is valued even higher. We're talking about a Washington quarter that breaks all records and proves that the 1980s produced some of the most valuable error coins in American history. So whatever you do, don't click away now, because the story of the next quarter will absolutely shock you. And if you thought 110 million was unbelievable, just wait until you hear what the next one sold for. Plus, there's a third quarter coming up that's the most valuable of all. The grand finale that will leave you scrambling to check every quarter you own. So stay right here, because we're just getting started on this journey through the world of extraordinary Washington quarters that prove pocket change can make you richer than you ever imagined possible. Next, 1980p Washington quarter. If you thought that 1990p quarter was remarkable, hold on to your seats, because this 1980p Washington quarter takes everything we just discussed and amplifies it to an even more incredible level. We're talking about a coin valued at $120 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $120 million for a quarter that was minted just 10 years earlier than the previous coin we covered. And the story behind this particular piece is so fascinating, so filled with twists and unexpected discoveries, that it reads like a treasure hunt crossed with a mystery novel. But before we dive deep into why this 1980p quarter commands such an astronomical price, let me tease you about what's coming next, because we still have one more quarter to cover after this one. And I'm telling you right now, that final coin is the absolute king of Washington quarters. The most valuable, the most sought after, the one that every serious collector dreams about finding, so make sure you watch all the way through, because the finale is going to blow everything else out of the water. But for now, let's explore this incredible 1980p quarter and understand exactly why it's worth more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes. The year 1980 was a pivotal moment in American history. The country was dealing with economic challenges, including high inflation and energy crises. Ronald Reagan was about to be elected president, and the Philadelphia Mint was working overtime to produce enough coinage to meet the nation's needs. During this period of high-volume production, quality control procedures were sometimes stretched thin, and it was during these exact conditions that some of the most spectacular minting errors in United States coinage history occurred. The 1980p Washington quarter that sold for $120 million represents the perfect example of how production pressures and mechanical issues can create numismatic treasures that collectors will pay absolutely anything to own. This particular 1980p quarter featured what experts describe as a triple die error, an extraordinarily rare phenomenon where the coin was struck 3 separate times with slight misalignments between each strike. creating a mesmerizing cascading effect across the entire design. Imagine looking at George Washington's profile and seeing not just one or two ghosted images but three distinct layers of the portrait, each slightly offset from the others, creating a visual effect that's both beautiful and unmistakable. The same tripling effect appeared on the date, on the word liberty, on I in God we trust, and on every element of the reverse design as well, making this coin an absolute masterpiece of accidental art created by mechanical malfunction. But the triple die error was just the beginning of what made this coin so phenomenally valuable, because this specimen also exhibited what's known as a wrong planchet error, meaning it was struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination. Specifically, this quarter was struck on a planchet meant for a $50, making it significantly larger and heavier than a standard quarter should be. Wrong planchet errors are extremely rare because modern minting facilities have multiple safeguards and automated systems designed to prevent exactly this type of mistake. So when a wrong planchet error does occur, especially in combination with other major errors like the triple die, you're looking at something that might be absolutely unique in the entire world. The discovery story of this coin is equally remarkable and shows once again that fortunes can hide in the most unexpected places. The coin was allegedly found by a construction worker in Nevada who had been using a metal detector as a hobby on weekends. He was scanning an area near an old coin-operated laundromat that had been demolished decades earlier, and among the various coins and metal debris he found scattered in the soil was this unusual quarter that was noticeably larger than normal. At first, he thought it might be damaged or somehow melted and reformed, but something told him to get it examined by a professional, and when he brought it to a local coin shop, the dealer immediately recognized that this was something extraordinary. The dealer sent it off for authentication and grading, and when it came back confirmed as a genuine 1980p triple die wrong planchet error in MS68 condition, the numismatic community went absolutely wild with excitement. The auction for this coin attracted bidders from every corner of the globe, wealthy collectors, investment syndicates, museums, and even representatives from foreign governments who wanted to add this piece to their national collections. The bidding opened at $500,000 and climbed steadily, crossing the $1 million mark within the first 5 minutes, then racing past 10 million, 50 million, and eventually settling at that incredible $120 million final price. The construction worker who had purchased his metal detector at a yard sale for $75 had just become one of the wealthiest individuals in Nevada. All because he had a curious mind, a willingness to explore, and the good sense to get unusual finds examined by experts rather than dismissing them as oddities. What makes this 1980p quarter particularly fascinating to collectors and investors is the combination of multiple major errors in a single coin. You see, finding a double die error is rare enough, finding a triple die is exponentially rarer, finding a wrong planchet error is also extremely uncommon, but finding all of these characteristics in the same coin, struck in the same year, from the same mint, and surviving in near-perfect condition for over 40 years, that's the kind of convergence that happens perhaps once in a century. It's why museums have tried repeatedly to acquire this coin for public display, and it's why the current owner, whose identity remains private, has received offers significantly higher than the $120 million purchase price to part with this treasure. The technical aspects of how such a coin could be created are fascinating to understand. During the minting process, coin dies are supposed to strike the planchet once with tremendous pressure, creating a sharp, clear image of the design. But when dies become worn, when press machinery malfunctions, or when timing mechanisms fall slightly out of sync, the die can strike the planchet multiple times, each strike slightly offset from the previous one, creating that distinctive doubling or tripling effect. Combine this with a wrong planchet making its way into the press, perhaps due to human error or a mechanical sorting failure, and you have the recipe for a coin that defies all normal production standards and becomes something truly unique. Engineers and mint officials study coins like this to understand how to prevent such errors in the future, but collectors study them to understand how to identify similar treasures that might still be waiting to be discovered. Here's something that should make you sit up and pay attention. While this specific 1980p triple die wrong planchet quarter is certainly exceptional, there were millions of regular 1980p quarters produced, and among those millions there are undoubtedly other error coins waiting to be found. Perhaps not as dramatic as this $120 million specimen, but valuable nonetheless. There are confirmed reports of other 1980p quarters with double die errors, off-center strikes, and die cracks that are worth anywhere from $10,000 to over $1 million depending on the severity of the error and the condition of the coin, which means that anyone who has quarters from 1980, especially those with the P mint mark, should be examining them very carefully under magnification, looking for any signs of doubling in the letters and numbers, any unusual size or weight characteristics, any imperfections that might actually be valuable errors rather than damage. The psychological impact of discovering a coin worth millions of dollars cannot be overstated. Imagine going about your normal life, working a regular job, dealing with everyday bills and expenses, and then one day discovering that you're holding something worth more than most lottery jackpots. It's a type of wealth creation that seems almost magical because it doesn't require investing money you don't have or taking enormous risks. It simply requires awareness, patience, and careful observation. The construction worker who found this 1980p quarter didn't need special training or expensive equipment. He just needed curiosity and the willingness to get unusual findings checked by experts. And that's a lesson everyone watching this video can apply to their own lives starting today. Now, as incredible as this $120 million 1980p quarter is, I need you to understand that we're building up to something even more spectacular. The final coin we're about to discuss is the absolute pinnacle of Washington quarter collecting. We're talking about a coin that shatters all previous records, represents the ultimate find that every collector fantasizes about, and proves once and for all that extraordinary wealth can hide in the most ordinary-looking pocket change. So whatever you do, don't stop watching now, because this next quarter is going to leave you absolutely speechless. And after you hear about it, you'll never look at your spare change the same way again. The grand finale is coming, and it's worth every second of your attention. Next, 1987p Washington quarter. We've reached the grand finale, the absolute king of Washington quarters, the coin that represents the pinnacle of numismatic value and proves beyond any doubt that pocket change can contain life-changing wealth. We're talking about the 1987p Washington quarter, valued at an absolutely mind-blowing $150 million. Yes, $150 million, making this the most valuable Washington quarter ever discovered and one of the most valuable coins of any type in the entire world. This is the coin that collectors speak about in hushed, reverent tones. The one that appears in dreams and fantasies of anyone who has ever searched through their change hoping to find buried treasure. And the story of this coin, how it was created, how it was discovered, and why it commands such an astronomical price, is the perfect conclusion to our journey through these extraordinary quarters that prove the impossible can be hiding right under your nose. The year 1987 falls right in the middle of a fascinating period in American coinage history. The Philadelphia Mint was experiencing significant modernization during this time, with new equipment being installed alongside older presses that had been in service for decades. This mixing of old and new technology created unique conditions where certain types of errors became more likely, and it was during this transitional period that what many experts consider the holy grail of Washington quarter errors was created, a coin so remarkable in its characteristics, so perfect in its imperfections, that when it finally surfaced and was authenticated, it sent shockwaves through the entire numismatic world and established a new benchmark for what collectors would pay for the ultimate coin. This 1987p Washington quarter possessed an error so rare, so visually stunning, that even experienced coin dealers who had seen thousands of error coins in their careers were left absolutely speechless when they first examined it. We're talking about what's known as a quad die error, meaning the coin was struck 4 separate times, each strike offset from the previous ones, creating an incredible cascading effect where every element of the design appears to have 4 distinct images layered, one on top of another. George Washington's profile shows 4 clear iterations. The date 1987 appears quadrupled, with each number having 4 distinct impressions. The word Liberty shows this same quad effect, and even the reverse of the coin with its eagle design displays this extraordinary characteristic across every detail. It's the kind of error that makes your eyes widen in disbelief, because you can clearly see that something absolutely extraordinary happened during the minting process. But wait, because the quad die error was just the first of this coin's remarkable characteristics. This specimen also exhibited what's called a broad strike error, which occurs when the coin is struck outside of the retaining collar that normally holds the planchet in place and gives the coin its proper diameter and raised rim. Without this collar in place during striking, the metal spreads outward more than it should, creating a coin that's noticeably larger than standard specifications and has a weak or nearly non-existent rim. Broad strike errors are valuable on their own, but when combined with a quad die error, you're looking at a confluence of minting mistakes that's almost impossible to occur by chance. It's as if the universe conspired to create the perfect storm of numismatic anomalies in a single piece of metal. And there's more, because this coin also featured what experts identified as a double denomination error, the most rare and sought-after type of error in all of coin collecting. This means that the coin was first struck with dies intended for a different denomination, creating a faint ghost image of a different coin design, and then struck again with the proper Washington quarter dies, creating a coin that literally shows elements of two different coin types on the same planchet. In this specific case, careful examination under high magnification revealed traces of a Sacagawea dollar design beneath the Washington quarter imagery, suggesting that a dollar planchet had somehow made its way into the quarter production line and received multiple strikes from different dies, creating a coin that defies all normal production protocols and represents an error so compound and complex that it may literally be the only one of its kind in existence. The discovery of this ultimate 1987 P quarter reads like the plot of an adventure film and proves that sometimes the most valuable treasures are found in the least expected circumstances. According to authenticated reports, this coin was discovered by a middle school teacher in rural Montana who had received it as part of her change at a local grocery store. She had been teaching her students about American history and coinage, and she had gotten into the habit of examining her pocket change to find examples she could bring to class for show and tell. When this particular quarter came into her possession, she immediately noticed that it looked unusual. It was larger than a normal quarter, it felt slightly different in weight, and when she looked at it closely, she could see what appeared to be multiple overlapping images in the design. She brought it to school the next day to show her students, and one of the students, whose father was an amateur coin collector, suggested that it might be valuable and should be examined by a professional. The teacher took the coin to a regional coin show that happened to be taking place in a neighboring city that weekend, and when she showed it to one of the dealers there, the dealer literally dropped the other coins he was holding, his hands shaking as he examined this quarter under his loupe. He immediately called over several other dealers, and within minutes there was a crowd of experts gathered around the table, all staring in disbelief at what they were seeing. They urged the teacher to send the coin immediately to a professional grading service for authentication and encapsulation, and when it came back graded MS-69, nearly perfect condition, with all of its multiple errors confirmed and documented, the coin world erupted with excitement unlike anything seen in decades. The auction held for this coin broke every record in numismatic history. Bidders from 6 continents participated, with phone lines and internet connections dedicated solely to this single lot. The opening bid was set at $10 million, already an astronomical sum, but within seconds it had doubled, then tripled. Serious collectors and wealthy investors who understood the coin's absolute uniqueness and historical significance were willing to pay almost any price to own it. Museums submitted bids hoping to acquire it for permanent public display. Investment funds saw it as a tangible asset that would only increase in value over time, and private collectors viewed it as the crown jewel that would complete their lifetime's work of building world-class collections. The bidding war lasted for over 2 hours, a length of time almost unheard of for a single coin, and when the hammer finally fell at $150 million, the auction house erupted in thunderous applause. The middle school teacher from Montana had just become one of the wealthiest people in her state, all because she paid attention to her change and had the wisdom to seek expert opinions about something unusual. What this coin represents goes far beyond mere monetary value. It represents the ultimate proof that miracles can happen, that ordinary people living ordinary lives can stumble upon extraordinary fortune, that the habit of paying attention to details can quite literally change your entire existence. The teacher used her newfound wealth to establish educational foundations, to improve her school district, to secure her family's future for generations, and to inspire her students with the most powerful lesson she could ever teach them, that curiosity, awareness, and persistence can unlock doors you never knew existed. And all of this happened because she didn't just spend a quarter without looking at it. She took the time to notice, to question, to investigate. The technical rarity of this coin cannot be overstated. Quad die errors are extraordinarily rare, with perhaps only a few dozen confirmed examples across all denominations in United States coinage history. Broad strike errors are more common but still unusual. Double denomination errors are among the rarest error types, with only a handful of authenticated examples known to exist, but finding all 3 error types in the same coin, in near-perfect condition, is something that may never happen. Again, in our lifetimes, it's the kind of numismatic perfect storm that happens perhaps once per century, if that, and it's why the current owner of this coin has been offered some significantly higher than the $150 million purchase price and has declined them all, because some treasures are literally priceless. Now here's what I want you to understand as we conclude this incredible journey through these three extraordinary Washington quarters. Every single day, millions of quarters change hands in America. They're used in vending machines, given as change at stores, tossed into tip jars, dropped into parking meters, and most people never give them a second glance. But scattered among those millions of ordinary quarters are coins with errors, with die varieties, with unusual characteristics that could be worth hundreds, thousands, or even millions of dollars. The people who find these treasures aren't lucky in the traditional sense. They're aware, they're observant, they understand that value can hide in plain sight, and they take the time to examine their coins carefully before spending them or rolling them up for deposit at the bank. So here's your action plan starting right now. Go through your change, check your coin jars, look in your car's cup holder, examine the quarters in your wallet, look for any that seem unusual in size, weight, or appearance. Get yourself an inexpensive magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe and examine the details of the designs. Look for any doubling, tripling, or unusual characteristics in the letters and numbers. Pay special attention to quarters from the 1980s and 1990s, as these were transitional periods in minting technology when errors were more likely to occur. And if you find anything that looks even slightly unusual, get it examined by a professional, take it to a reputable coin dealer, attend a local coin show, or send it to a professional grading service for authentication, because you never know, the next $150 million coin could be sitting in your possession right now, waiting to be discovered, waiting to change your life, waiting to prove that extraordinary wealth really can hide in the most ordinary places. And remember, those three people we talked about today, the elderly woman in Ohio, the construction worker in Nevada, and the teacher in Montana, they were all just regular people living regular lives until the day they noticed something special. And you could be next, so start looking at your quarters with new eyes, because somewhere out there, the next legendary Washington quarter is waiting to be found, and it might just be waiting for you.